Coming to you from sunny California and the Great White North. Get ready. We are breaking down the obstacles on the Armchair Ninja Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Armchair Ninja Podcast. It is Thursday, September 20th, 2018. My name is Rich, and joining me to announce the nominees for the Stage 5 Ninja Awards is Bijan. How you making out?
I'm good, man. I feel like I should be like wearing a tuxedo or something, you know?
I know, we need to step it up. It is the end of the season. We got to recognize the ninjas.
Yeah, for real. And I'm excited because this is a time where we get to really talk about like the overall story about everything. Not only that, like we get to, I guess, incorporate our listeners and all of our fans a whole lot more in just talking about this crazy season that we've been having.
Yeah, the season was really weird in some ways. Like we had like an epic like week after week of just great performances, great new obstacles. We were loving everything. And not that Vegas was bad. It was certainly some good episodes, but some of the performance, like it just kind of fell apart. Like there was so many weird things that happened, things we didn't expect. So, I mean, it's a lot to talk about, and we've got all these categories to go through. And some additional People's Choice categories. We're going to review everything and set it all up for next week, where we will be joined by Taran and Lita from reality TV RHAP-Ups and Travis McClure from ANW Fantasy.
Yeah, exciting. And we also have, a lot of fun, exciting categories for all of our fans to vote on. And man, I'm excited to hear about a lot of these categories. Like, just to let everybody know, I know the preliminary, nominees and everything, but we've had a lot of discussion throughout the week from everybody involved with this whole Stage 5 Ninja Awards. So Rich is the only person in the world right now that has the finalized list of nominees, and I'm super psyched to hear who made it to the finals.
Right, so we've got the list here. Thank you to those that sent in your input. Definitely helped. There was a lot of ninjas to go through. Thankfully did track it throughout the season, so I had a pretty good idea of who was matching into certain categories. Some of them were super tough to narrow down. I would have like 100 honorable mentions in some of these categories, but we had to narrow it down. Just for everybody's sake, we're going to get it down to 5 per category. So let's get into some of these categories.
Just to clarify, though, for everybody, when I'm commenting on the nominees, I don't want to sway anybody, so I'm just going to comment from an objective viewpoint, not who I'm personally voting for, because I don't want to sway anybody. I don't really think any of the other voters are going to be listening to what I have to say, but I really don't want it to be like controversial or anything. Don't you feel the same way, Rich?
I think we can be, we've been offering our opinions all year. If we haven't swayed people already, we probably won't from this. I think you're a little safer, maybe to go a little harder than you're thinking, but
Peck bouncing dude deserves the win.
Yes. I don't think we're going to be too many surprises, but I do want to make sure
we slam down this mic if he doesn't.
We're going to make sure we kind of refresh your memory on who some of these people are. So for those of you that are listening and then voting, or, all of you that can participate in the People's Choice, we want to remind you of things we've seen over the season.
Yeah. Let's hear it.
All right. So breakout performance by a male. We have Mathis Owhadi, go figure, Eric Middleton, Austin Gray, RJ Roman, and Zach Day.
Some strong nominees, man. I just right off the bat, of course, Mathis has to be talked about. If you guys look back at all of his accomplishments throughout the year, and I really put into my voting Ninja versus Ninja. I really feel like that also has to be taken into account. So Mathis, his team makes it with Iron Grip to the finals, right? And he's a big part of that dynamic. He also has been doing phenomenal on the regional circuit, and then he has a star-making breakout year on American Ninja Warrior proper, where he is like all over our screens, and he makes it like just as far as everybody else in stage 2. He really has to be considered. But RJ Roman, don't sleep on that guy, Rich. He's also had a phenomenal storyline and phenomenal year.
Yeah, he made it just as far as Mathis. He made it to the end of stage 2. All of these nominees made it to stage 2. Most of them, if not all of them, were rookies. Eric Middleton's not a rookie, but he kind of had a breakout year. Getting the host to eat bugs was a very big deciding factor on making sure that he got into this category.
Yeah, really, like the storyline's just as important. Well, not just as important, but it is a portion of, how you have to look at these ninjas, right? And when you really look at him, who had more entertaining, like on the line odds when running? I mean, every time he ran, there was so much stakes involved. He really made it fun. He really made, I guess, every time he ran, there was always a good vibe about it, especially from the hosts.
Yeah, it really killed me not to put Kyle Schulze in here. I really wanted to nominate him, but that's my own personal preference, and I didn't want it to influence it too much. His story I thought was wonderful, but where he didn't get deep into Vegas, I didn't feel it was warranted this year. Really looking forward to seeing him in this category next year. Austin Gray, for those that don't remember, Austin was the kidney donor who did really well this season. And Zach Day. I found the problem with the days. There's Zach Day and Matthew Day, and I had a heck of a time trying to keep the two of them straight and picking between them for this category. Zach went very deep, had a great season. Not much else to say. Look him up if you need to know whether you should vote for him or not. But I feel like you said, the story...
That's not a good sign.
It's not a great sign. And in some ways, I don't want to do him a disservice, but at the same time, story plays into it, right? He did get some coverage and stuff, but it's hard to stand out in this crowd. Moving on, we had breakout performance by a female, and the nominees are Karen Wiltin, Quest O'Neill, Casey Rothschild, Abby Clark, and Anna Shumaker.
Shumaker, yeah, I guess so. Looking at these, like, Quest had an amazing story, but when I think about her dynamic, really all I remember was their story. Like, how far did she go in terms of like her runs?
They all made it past qualifiers. I guess as far as actual progress through Vegas, you would say Abby Clark was the most successful. Mm-hmm. Most did quite well in the qualifiers and moved on to the finals, and then for one reason or another didn't make it past there. So Casey stands out quite a bit. I don't know what it was about her story. Maybe it's her age, but she was the 19-year-old who managed to beat the warped wall on her third attempt. Abby also was the solo finisher for her region, solo female finisher, sorry, and took 3 attempts to make it up that wall. So we also had a very exciting run. But like you said, Quest's story really stood out. Like, she really was so unique. She was very memorable and kind of one of those ninjas you're going to be watching for next year.
Yeah, plus when you look at just these 5 nominees in general, Quest stands out. And, you look at her, you just see. And I do appreciate her representing somebody that doesn't look like all the other female ninjas. We'll just say that, right? When it came to the youngins, I'll call them the kids, because they're almost the same age as Mathis Owhadi. Like, really, the things that they were able to do on their first year, I mean, good on them. Mathis, he's been doing this since he was like 13. I don't know how long these women have been training, but they struggled through, but they persevered. And they, did the best that they did in the regions. And that's a huge, huge accomplishment. Because there are some strong female ninjas in all regions.
Yeah, if I remember, I really should have jotted more notes as I made these categories. I believe Anna made it to like the 8th obstacle in final, so she did really well. Anna's almost too qualified for a breakout performance. She's done really well in Team Ninja and stuff. We have seen her before, but she did stand out a little more this year than usual. And Karen Wiltin, if I remember correctly, was a 39-year-old who I believe was first place in the qualifiers. Like, she did extremely well.
That's amazing, dude. That's pretty dope.
Yeah, so they all did fantastic. They're going to be hard to pick between, but we'll do our best.
Yeah, what's good about not only the breakout performances, but also the overall like male and female ninjas of the year is I feel like this year there's no clear-cut winner. Like last year, Joe Morosky just he had it hands down, right? But like this year, I really don't feel the same way. I really don't.
And same with the obstacles, right across the board. Last year, like you said, it really, when I was putting the list together last year, it seemed like, okay, here's one that's going to win, and then here's some, the best of the rest. And it didn't feel like that this year. I really don't know how any of this is going to go. So let's take a look at some of the obstacles here. Best new obstacle, and we had a lot of new obstacles this year.
I was so excited for this. If you guys want to know, this one had the most push and pull between everybody. Like everybody had their thoughts.
So what we've got is the doorknob drop, the spin hopper, cane lane, deja vu, and water walls.
I mean, how do you even pick between these guys? Like there's the whole thing of like, finish rate, and then like creativity, and then just the visual aspects. Like there's so many different things to go involved or to really think about when considering this category. I really don't like when people just look at stats and be like, oh, well, people failed the most at this, so that has to be on there. I'm like, shut up. That's not the only reason.
Yeah.
But
yeah. How does it fit into the overall story? What did it contribute to the episode that it was in?
Yes.
Did it take out some of our favorite ninjas? There's so many things to look at. Visually, how good is it? Does it test the skills we want to see tested? Was it fair? There's just so many things to look at for a best new obstacle, and narrowing this down was probably the hardest category, to be honest.
Yeah, it's tough, but I really like there's some obstacles in this category where they test different parts of the ninjas that just aren't used as often, like different muscle groups, and also technique. Some of these offer more creativity than others, right? So some of these obstacles, there's just one way of doing it, but some there's a little different. So I don't know what I'm picking, but I really want to look through these and just think about the overall story and how they were approached also.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as honorable mentions, I mean, the Mega Wall was kind of a big story, but it wasn't unique enough quite to make the list. Archer Alley, surprisingly, the Archer Steps didn't really do a whole lot through the season, but Archer Alley did some big, shocking falls in the finals, but it just didn't really hold up to the others, unfortunately. We'll see how it progresses. I'm interested to see. I think it also might be that I'm a little salty about it taking out some of the best female ninjas and didn't want it in the list because of that. I don't know. Maybe I was a little biased there.
I guess.
But speaking of Ninja Killers, the next category is Ninja Killer of the Year.
Dum, dum, dum.
This was weird, man. When you look back through the season and see what obstacles took out the most people, some of them were just in odd placements, right? So it was hard to narrow it down. Like I said, didn't want to go pure by stats. Kind of had to take a few things into consideration. What was everybody talking about? Which ones really made the biggest impact?
Yeah, which one had the most, like, the storyline of the big, daunting obstacle? Like, I really felt like what matters the most is, in an episode, when a ninja approaches, like, is right before they're doing this obstacle, everybody hushes, and they all think, will they get through it? Will they get through it? That's really the Ninja Killer, and that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, like when you think in previous seasons, we've had, Cannonball Alley famously taking out most of the field, or the Wedge, or Hourglass Drop. Those obstacles, there's like everybody that takes the course, you're like, here's the next person to go down. Like, how many dozens of people are going to go down before someone can beat this thing? So this season we had quite a few of them, but in particular, the 5 nominees are Cane Lane, Iron Maiden, Double Dipper, Deja Vu, and Wingnut Alley.
Tough. When you look at this, everybody's like, oh, well, if you want to think about recency, the things that stand out the most are going to be Deja Vu and Double Dipper, right?
And Wingnut Alley, because Wingnut Alley is particularly brutal because it's taking out the best of the best.
That's a good point, and that is maybe a reason why to consider it so strongly is because it still takes out the best of the ninjas, right? Double Dipper, you really have to think about in consideration. it's its second year, but it actually became almost harder for a lot of these ninjas. And it, for me, it's the one that really, like, when people were approaching it, it's like, ooh, let's see. Kane Lane. When you think about Kane Lane, man, that I really liked, and that one was tough. It's tough, and it's creative, which I like. So what stands out to you, Rich?
Kane Lane does, oddly, because it just visually was so interesting, and it's got like this quality to it, right? It's easy to remember. It's got the rhyming scheme. I don't know what it is about it, but it stands out in that way. But I have to look at Vegas and consider these obstacles. Wingnut Alley, I think, is the only obstacle to be nominated 2 years in a row because, like I said, it just takes out the best, right? They've gone through so much to get there, and then to just decimate the field like that, it is the obstacle to beat to make it past stage 2. It's hard to ignore that. That being said, the physical toll that Double Dipper took on, Travis Rosen in particular, but some of our top competitors going out there, I can't ignore that either. So I'm going to have a hard time picking that one.
Mm-hmm. Not in big shout out to Deja Vu. I mean, don't sleep on that because it was not only difficult, but very, very creative. It's kind of like Double Dipper where the visual aspect is really there.
Yeah. The next category we have is the best comeback story. We usually have a lot of comebacks, but we had a good section of them this year to choose from.
Bring on the feel goods.
All right, we've got Chris Wilcheski, Danny Bergstrom, Enadina Stanger, Jake Murray, and Jeremiah Morgan.
Rich, can you go over like kind of what the storyline is for them? Like how are they viewed and coming back?
Sure. That's probably a good idea because I feel like this one needs that context, right?
Yeah.
Well, since I'm going to be doing a couple of them, you can do Chris Wilcheski's probably.
That's fine with me, man. Chris Wilcheski, if you guys remember last year, he didn't compete. And the reason we found out that he didn't compete is because he almost died. He almost drowned. He was swimming in the ocean, and long story short, you all saw it. But basically, it was in the ocean, and he fought a riptide for almost, I think it was almost 30 minutes, right, Rich?
Yeah, I think that's what they said. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, that is unhuman. That is amazing. I mean, give me 5 minutes, I'm done. So this guy he fought for his life, and he had PTSD, and I can just 100% imagine. I mean, just think about the fact that there's like a water obstacle now. Not to mention every obstacle, you're going to fall into water. There's a lot there that, it's a very fresh wound for him. And in seeing him come back from such a like scarring type of situation, and then him persevering. It's not just that he went back from it, but he persevered and really fought for everything he had and all of his accomplishments this year. I mean, that's a big thing.
Yeah. He was one of our favorite stories from the season. Loved seeing him on the course. He is a huge supporter of the ninja community overall with his National Ninja League and all the work that he does with Movement Lab. So, yeah, Chris Wilcheski's story was really big this year. And one of the primary reasons we even have this category. Mm-hmm. After him is one that you may not remember as well, Danny Bergstrom. Danny is the competitor who was there to support his stepfather last year. He was 250 pounds last year, but dropped like a massive amount of weight and ran the course this year and did amazingly well. Like made it to Vegas in his rookie season after shedding all of that weight. So his comeback wasn't so much that he had run the course before, but within that year, he had gotten fit and he had proven himself in a way that you probably wouldn't have anticipated someone like that doing.
Yeah, absolutely amazing when you actually think about the accomplishments that he did in the span of a year. Lost all that weight, trained phenomenally hard, and accomplished a lot while during his time on American Ninja Warrior. I mean, what can you say? This guy really had, in the span of a year, has really changed his entire life. So definitely a comeback.
After Danny, we had Enadina Stanger in the story that I knew was going to make me cry, and of course it did. Enadina is the wife of Michael Stanger, who, if you remember a couple of seasons ago, ran the course, had gotten fit, had increased his fitness, his strength, in order to be able to better take care of her. She was on the sidelines in a wheelchair as he ran the course, and he did shockingly well. It was something we hadn't expected. He was able to beat the qualifying course in one of the most touching moments we've seen on ANW. Last year when he ran the course, she was there to cheer him on, and this time she was out of the wheelchair. She had progressed to that point, and absolutely amazing. This season, she actually returned, fought through all of the pain, all of the challenges she has to run the course herself. And yeah, very, very memorable story. Although she fell in the steps, the fact that she was on the course, as they've said 1,000 times, was victory in itself, and 100% true in her case.
Dude, this is going to be a really interesting category, because when you think about accomplishment, there's multiple ways of going around this, right? When you think about, in terms of like the most intense transformation that somebody's had, I mean, she has to be at the top of there. So she really, when you think about it, is a huge, huge consideration for winning this. And I feel like a lot of people would think that Chris Lucheski, just because he's the most well-known ninja, is a shoo-in for this. But when you really think about it, I mean, I'm really going to have to put her highly in my considerations, just because she did accomplish a lot. And yeah, she didn't like make it to Vegas or anything like that. But the fact that she was actually able to even, I don't even know, do one transition, right? Or even like get on the course alone is just a huge, huge comeback from what we've seen from her in the past few years. So this really made things really interesting.
Yeah, she definitely fits into this category. And the last two are ninjas, one a little more well-known than the other, both incredibly talented. Jake Murray, doesn't need any introduction, but if you don't remember, last season he fell very early on. I believe it was even in the qualifiers, if I'm not mistaken, which meant that he had to sit out the whole season. We didn't get to see much of Jake last year, so I was really looking forward to him this year, and he didn't disappoint. He not only was able to beat the city courses and qualify for Vegas, he had the fastest time. He went faster than Mathis, Daniel, and Drew to get the fastest time on stage one. That is a heck of a comeback.
Yeah, it's crazy. He did so good, and he did phenomenal on Ninja vs. Ninja as well. I mean, this guy has done so much this past year. Huge, huge comeback. Just from the fact that he fell so early on. I mean, I don't know what else to say. When it comes to Jake, I mean, you all see it.
Right. Yeah, he's the one that probably didn't need much explanation. Jeremiah Morgan is one that not everybody is quite as up on. Jeremiah is like an incredibly talented ninja who went all the way to stage 3 a couple years ago. But we found out why he wasn't back last season. It was that he was electrocuted. Like he really had like a major accident that put him out of commission for a while, and it looked like, it looked really bad. So as we learned, he was able to come back, and he did exceedingly well once again. Now that he's returned, made it to stage 2. So yeah, Jeremiah had a great season once again. He was able to beat the city finals course, right? And it's almost as tough to beat a city finals course as it is to beat the stages in Vegas at this point. So huge accomplishments all around. Glad to see him back. Hope he gets a little more love from the editors next season.
Yeah, cool. Don't remember much about this one.
Sure, no problem.
Go ahead.
Speaking of shocking, that's terrible. But we have the shocking fall of the year next.
Oh, man.
That's terrible. This category was interesting. This is not a category anyone wants to win, but it has to be acknowledged, right? It's part of the show. It's part of the reason we watch, is to get those shocking falls. So let's take a look at the 5 nominees. We've got Isaac Caldiero, Alyssa Beard, Travis Rosen, Joe Moravsky, and Daniel Gill.
I mean, I feel like I can picture the moment that they fell for each of these runs, right?
It is funny,
It just
right?
stands out that much.
Yeah, yeah. Every last one of them is kind of seared into your brain. When your mouth just dropped and you go, "Wait, what? That's not where they're supposed to fall."
Yeah. By the way, special shout out to JJ Wood. Well, not shout out, but also in consideration, at least for me, was JJ Woods and Flip Rodriguez for this because their falls also shocked me drastically. But of the nominees that we have, I mean, Isaac, just because of past accomplishments, has to be in there. Alyssa Beard, the way she fell and how early on really, really stood out to me. Joe Moravsky, another one, just the same as Alyssa Beard. Just you saw him all already planning out stage 3, and Daniel, I don't know. I don't put as much stock in Daniel Gill's run, but the one Travis Rosen, I mean, not only did he fall early, but he hurt himself, and that also has to be put in consideration. That you just never want that to happen.
Yeah, I have to agree. Like the Flip and JJ for sure were in consideration. There was a whole laundry list of people. Every time somebody falls, it's pretty shocking. So it's hard to really narrow it down to one particular one. But I think you summarize them all pretty well. The thing with Daniels is that it's not so much shocking that he fell on stage 2, it's where in stage 2, right? You kind of thought he would be at least make it to Wingnut Alley. He may fall there again, but it was hard to picture him not making it there.
Yeah.
The next one is actually, you know what? I take back the other some of these other categories as being the hardest one to pick. The Stealthiest Ninja Award absolutely drove me crazy. And I even tweeted out about it because is there anything harder than finding the unrecognized ninjas? Like digging through and trying, and the harder you have to search for them, the more you realize they're probably the ones that should win.
Yeah, it's always interesting how to approach this category. Because do you just go based on the person that wasn't shown that got really far? Or do you really take into account this person should have been shown? I go more towards should have been shown, but I 100% respect anybody that feels differently.
Yeah, so I kept track through the season, but mainly of the ninjas that I recognized, whether they were fast-forwarded, completely skipped, or got picture-in-picture, as I flagged them. And if they had any segment at all, they were disqualified from this category. So if they had anything approaching a segment, they were no longer a nominee.
Sorry, Nicholas.
Yeah, sorry. No, I mean, great. He got it surprisingly disqualified from this category. So let's take a look at who we do have here. We have Mike Myers, Hunter Gerard, Josh Levin, Jonathan Stevens, and Brian Burkhart.
I feel bad for all of them. This is not the just being nominated is just oh man, that sucks. For me, standing out, Josh Levin, right? But what really stands out to you?
So Josh was the one I felt like of the known ninjas, of the ones that we, has been on the show for a while, known to do really well. He got nothing but fast forwards all season. He got 4 fast forwards every single one of his runs, which is actually for this category, I think the best, right? I think he gets the most attention by having 4 fast forwards. Most of the other ones have at least one segment where they weren't mentioned at all. Mike Myers, even though he was placing, 6th place in some cases, he was doing quite well on the courses. You would not even know he was on the course until stage 2 when they fast forwarded his fall. So, I mean, he really got the short end of it there.
Yeah, that really sucks.
Jonathan Stevens, I believe I don't know if he had any skips. I didn't go back and verify that. He got a few fast forwards as a rookie making it to stage 2. I don't understand how far they wanted him to go. The guy made it to stage 2. You could have trimmed, a minute off of one of Mathis' segments to give this guy a little bit of credit there would have been nice.
Yeah, when you really think about it, just imagine being that guy because it's his rookie year. He's young, and he's probably over the moon with how well he did, and he gets no love.
After hitting 3 buzzers. Like I was saying, it's not even that he just did well in these and went pretty deep. He beat qualifiers and city finals and stage 1 and got nothing.
Sucks, man.
Yeah, he is. I'm not even going to try to be unbiased in this one. Him and Mike Myers were the two easiest picks for this category, for sure.
Really? I don't know.
Yeah. I felt like...
I don't necessarily think I'll be voting for either, but I understand.
Right. So it depends on, like you said, you can pick it in however you feel like. If you're more aiming towards who I would have expected to see more of and who I was looking forward to seeing more of, Josh or Hunter Gerard are definitely high on that list, right? Hunter is someone that we've seen have a segment in previous seasons, does exceedingly well, and did well on Ninja vs. Ninja, did really well.
He did phenomenal.
So he's someone we want to see more of, and he got skipped over and over again and not shown at times. So he's certainly in the running as well. And I just, as far as purely not understanding why they were completely cut out of episodes and not given the credit, I thought Mike and Jonathan really got the worst of it.
Yeah. That said, also in consideration, at least for me, they didn't make the final cut, but like Thomas Sellings should have gotten way more love than he did, and a few others.
Yeah, Thomas, I think I gave a little more credit to the picture-in-picture than the fast forwards, which I think kind of nudged him out a little bit. But yeah, he definitely needed some more airtime. There was a few other ones where it's like, why didn't we get more from some of these people? I mean, some of them were used to it at this point, but they still were in consideration. David Campbell always will be on that list too, I think.
Yeah.
So moving on, the big categories, the ones we've all been waiting for. Female Ninja of the Year. Dun, 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 dun.
You need to have some background music or some stuff for this, man.
I need some like little chimes going or something here, yeah. So we've got Barclay Stockett, Jessie Labreck, Megan Martin, Rachel Goldstein, and Abby Clark.
Do I have to vote for this? Can this just be for like everybody else to vote for? Like, this is so difficult, man.
Some of them are tough. Some of them are tough for sure.
I mean, right off the bat, Megan Martin and Jessie Labreck and Barclay Stockett. Let's break this down, right? Megan Martin does phenomenal on Ninja vs. Ninja. You know, who went undefeated? Was it Jessie Labreck or Megan Martin? I remember them both were undefeated until they paired up against each other.
Jessie ended up beating Megan.
Okay. And I remember it was very close also in that final race. So I really put them even, right? I can't really knock either down. So they were the two like dominant female ninjas for that season. And then comes American Ninja Warrior, and they dominate this as well. So really their accolades stand up against each other phenomenally well. When you look at it, Jessie Flex Labreck, team captain, first woman to complete that zigzag thing on Ninja vs. Ninja. Her team wins Ninja vs. Ninja. Then she has a phenomenal year on American Ninja Warrior, showing just how dominant she is. I mean, you really have to put that in consideration also. And don't sleep on Barclay Stockett and all that she's done this year. Man, she's looking strong year after year after year. And got a really good storyline also. So those three really stand out to me. The other two, they're there. They're really strong, and I 100% understand if anybody votes for them.
Yeah, you can make a case for any of them for sure. I think you summarized it well. The top three definitely have a lot of strong accolades. They're some of our favorite ninjas to begin with, but they also had strong seasons to back them up. Nobody was able to beat stage 1 this year, so it doesn't kind of give us the standout that we had last year with Alyssa. So it kind of is everybody's game.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Just who stands out to you, man?
I think Labreck, if you're looking at Ninja vs. Ninja, you've got to give it to Labreck. You know, they won mainly on her shoulders, right? As the team captain.
But Megan Martin, man, that her team was also on her shoulders, and they were right there also. They were runners up.
They did, yeah, and she saved them a couple times, right, where they had both lost the runs, and she won. So, I mean, Megan definitely did help carry the team through. When you look at performance in, the cities and stuff, Megan missed the qualifiers. She fell short of hitting the buzzer in the qualifiers for the first time. but she went deep. I'm pretty sure she made it to the 9th obstacle, as Jessie did, but she did hit the qualifiers. And then when you look at stage 1, Jessie went further. So as far as ANW itself goes, ANW proper, Lebrec had the better season than anyone. But Barclay is one of my favorite to watch. And if you consider storyline in this, and if you look at her speeding, she had a fall on Jeep Run, but up until that point, like, she crushed it through some obstacles that should have been nearly impossible with her height, but she's able to do it and able to improve over last season her timing so that it's not really that surprising that she could conquer stage 1 now, right? It definitely seems more feasible than it did last season.
Yeah. And just bringing this out there, Megan Martin won Wolfpack Ninja Tour. Just saying.
There's lots to consider, and that's the nice thing about it, and about it not just being you and I debating these things, right? We're going to have lots of people voting, and you'll have your own chances to vote for who your favorites are, who you think deserves to win the categories. So as a reminder, we will have it so that there is a People's Choice Awards. This will be voted on by our committee of podcasters and social media ANW fans that we've collected. They'll be contributing for this vote, but you'll have your opinion that you'll be able to vote for in Twitter. And we'll give you instructions for that as we wrap up here shortly. And our final category here for the committee to decide, the Academy. I can't remember what we called everybody. The Academy.
It's called the Academy, man.
Yeah. Our Ninja Academy. We've got Male Ninja of the Year, Drew Dreschel, Sean Bryan, Jamie Ron, Najee Richardson, and Mathis Owhadi.
What a strong field. And very neck and neck, man. I mean, overall, I have no idea how you even begin to approach this category. Storylines, they're all over the place, right? Mathis is like the rising star. Drew Dreschel is the hardened veteran that everybody expects to win. He's kind of like the Mr. Sasuke, you know? Just Sean Bryan, right? The guy that is, like, he already has his, like, already storyline, right? Of the Papal Ninja. But on top of that, he goes in and has this amazing rising starring gear in not only Ninja vs. Ninja, but ANW proper. Najee is like the poster child. Like, storyline alone, they all are there. And then their accomplishments alone in both shows, also just dominant.
Yeah, it's really hard to pick. Like, we do have a lot of options here and a lot of different reasons you could pick any of them. I think you summarized it quite well. Sean Bryan is like the unsung hero. He's got stage 3 2 years in a row. Like, we need to stop overlooking that guy. Jamie Ron absolutely captured our attention with his shoeless run through stage 1, in addition to having a great season overall.
Yeah, that one's going to be hard. When you think about it, man, like, I still feel like if there's one moment this season that you look back on, it's that Jamie Ron run.
Yeah, and it's hard to deny Mathis. There are other rookies that did considerably well this season too, and made it just as far. But when you consider it as a TV show overall, it was really very much the kid show this year.
It was, man.
So that was it for our categories that the Academy of voting on. That leaves us with 4 other categories here, the People's Choice Awards, as part of this as well. So you all have your own opportunity to voice your opinion on, let us know who you think belongs in these different categories and which obstacles and which runs really stood out to you this year.
And how can they vote?
So the way you're going to vote, in some way, I think Bijan believes this is more complicated, or maybe it's just more complicated for me, but I wanted to keep it simple and open-ended so you can pick whoever and whatever you want. So once I give you the categories, I'm going to, once this episode is posted, I'm going to tweet out a single tweet for each category, and you will reply or like or retweet on your answer. So if nobody else has already said Joe Moravsky, you can comment Joe Moravsky or and like or retweet somebody else's there. So for every time I see it commented, liked, or retweeted, that will be a vote. So you can vote up to 3 times, basically. or however many times you want to like and retweet. All I'm going to do is just add up the numbers for each thing. So keeping it simple on how you can get your voice heard. And yeah, it's completely open. And so if you want to bring up somebody that we don't have in any of our categories, feel free. You have a big social media campaign, drive it so Booty Bandwagon takes over and wins the whole thing. We would not be upset. So let's take a look at the categories here. I want to talk about them a little bit. So we've kind of covered these a couple of these already. But People's Choice Male Ninja of the Year and People's Choice Female Ninja of the Year. That can mean whatever you want it to be. If you want to vote for who your favorite to watch is, who you think did the best, any reason at all, just Ninja of the Year. And by the same token, we are going to have an Obstacle of the Year category, keeping it simple. Whether you like ninja killers and want, particularly enjoyed a certain obstacle, whether you think one was the toughest or the best, whatever reason you want to have for voting, you can vote on your Obstacle of the Year.
Don't you guys dare vote for that crayon obstacle. I'm just saying. Screw that obstacle.
And then I left one thing that I wanted one thing to be unique, right, for the People's Choice. Rather than just, a repetition of ones that we already had in some variation. So the last People's Choice Award is the Athletically Profound Run of the Year. So whatever it is through the season, whatever captured your attention, whatever you enjoyed the most, remember the most, label it however you want. If you put, an obvious example would be Jamie Ron's shoeless run on stage 1. Just call it that. And if you see that listed and you agree with that, just like it, retweet it, comment it yourself, however you want to add your voice to that discussion.
Yeah, this was the category that I've, both last year and this year, we got a lot of, feedback saying you guys want to hear the best run of the year. And the problem is that it's so phenomenally subjective. It's not fair to have just 5 categories and us vote for it. So I really, really want to hear a discussion and really hear what you guys think has to be the run of the year. It doesn't have to be Jamie Ron's run. Obviously, if I was voting, that would probably be it for me. But there's a lot of other dynamics to be played here. Enadina Stinger. You just see that run and you're already in tears, right? So if you talk about emotional impact, nothing tops that. When you think about just physical accomplishments or history making, Casey Rothschild, she was young, female, did Warped Wall. Nobody had any, reservations of how well she'd do or anything. These things really matter. These things stand out. And I can go on and on. I'm sure you guys are thinking in your heads probably 3 different runs that were your favorites throughout the year. Not only is this a fun conversation, but hey, it allows all of us to go back and watch them again. So I really want you guys to participate in this one. I'm really psyched to see what you guys have to say.
Think about some of those mega walls that we had. Whether you like the obstacle or not, think about the excitement of seeing Ryan Stratus hit the top of that thing.
Or Crystal
those moments. Yeah, those moments that stand out to you, those runs where you were super excited to see your favorites persevere, right? Make their own personal best. There's 1,000 reasons to enjoy runs on American Ninja Warrior. Some for the accomplishments, some for the story. It's just completely up to you, and we'd love to see what you pick as the Athletically Profound Run of the Year.
Yes, and you guys better believe the bell will be here for it. And just once again, please look back to the earlier parts of the season. It's about the run. It doesn't have to be just the Vegas finals. So I really want to hear stuff about the city qualifiers, city finals, stuff like that.
Right. If you had a favorite ninja that fell on the second obstacle in LA, for example, and you wanted to make that the Athletically Profound Run of the Year, I would totally support that.
I hate you.
So remember, in order to vote, you need to follow me on Twitter. That is @Ninja Podcast. Keep an eye out for the tweets. It will be very clear which ones to cast your votes on. Look for the graphic that says to vote here, basically. And and if you'd like to reach out to me, you can reach me as @Ninja Podcast on both Twitter and Instagram. You can email me at rich@ninjapodcast.com. And Bijan, how can they reach you?
Hit me up at Twitter and Instagram at Bijan151. That is Bijan151. Do not send your votes to me because I won't count. Send them to Rich.
Right. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you have a great week.
Deuces, y'all.